FIFA World Cup 2026, the experiment that could change sport forever. In 1994, the United States hosted the World Cup without a single top-flight professional soccer league. The stadiums were borrowed. The culture was borrowed. The whole thing was supposed to be a one-time anomaly. 32 years later, North America is hosting again. Only this time it's the biggest World Cup in history, 48 teams, 104 matches, spread across 16 cities in 3 countries. And the entire thing is built on a single bet that the most expensive mistake in sports history doesn't have to be repeated. The question is whether that bet pays off or whether the chaos of the world actually showing up exposes every crack in the plan. Let's get into it. History and context. To understand what North America is attempting, you first need to understand the trap every previous host walked straight into. When FIFA awards a World Cup, it hands the host nation a technical checklist: minimum stadium capacities, pitch dimensions. For most countries, that checklist means one thing: construction. Brazil spent between 11 and $15 billion on stadiums for 2014. Several of those venues now sit in cities with no professional football culture capable of filling them. The Estadio Nacional in Brasilia, which cost $900 million, had its car park converted into a bus depot after the tournament because there was nothing else to do with it. Qatar went further than anyone. 7 entirely new stadiums, a brand new city built around one of them, an estimated $220 billion in total spending on a tournament that lasted 29 days. The modular upper tiers were supposed to be dismantled and donated to developing nations. They are still there. The community hubs were supposed to open. They haven't. The stadiums exist. The legacy does not. This is the model FIFA perfected over 3 decades, and it is the model North America refused to follow. The plan. The official number of new stadiums being built for the 2026 World Cup is 0. That decision was not ideological, it was practical. The United States and Canada already possess some of the most technically advanced sports venues on Earth. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey holds 82,500 people. AT&T Stadium in Dallas holds 94,000. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles seats 70,000 beneath a fixed translucent roof. These are not makeshift alternatives. They are, by any objective measure, among the finest sports facilities ever constructed. The strategic logic is straightforward. Why spend $5 billion building stadiums when you already have them? Why create infrastructure with no post-tournament purpose when every venue already has a full-time NFL or MLS tenant waiting on the other side? The day after the World Cup final at MetLife on July 19th, the stadium can begin preparing for a Giants or Jets game. No conversion required, no legacy problem to solve. The building simply goes back to doing what it was already doing. Mexico understood the same logic. Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City are all anchored by existing infrastructure. The Estadio Azteca in Mexico City is about to host its 3rd World Cup, a feat no venue in history has ever achieved. The technical reality. The no-build headline is accurate, but it obscures a significant amount of surgical renovation work that had to happen before any of these venues could meet FIFA's technical requirements. The core problem is dimensional. NFL fields are narrower than FIFA mandates. Most American stadiums run artificial turf. FIFA requires a natural grass and a wider pitch. Neither of those things is a minor adjustment. At MetLife, where the final will be held, 4 corners of the lower bowl's precast seating were removed entirely and replaced with a new modular steel system, widening the playing surface to FIFA dimensions while preserving the structural integrity of the bowl. At Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, 3,000 sideline seats were pulled and replaced with removable modular sections. Engineers then excavated a subsurface aeration system beneath the playing surface to support a natural grass installation. 8 of the 16 venues are replacing artificial turf with real grass, a research program developed in partnership with the University of Tennessee and Michigan State. Canada required more substantial intervention. BMO Field in Toronto started at 30,000 seats, well below FIFA's minimum threshold. A $150 million project is adding temporary grandstands to push the venue past 45,000 capacity. Those temporary structures attracted public attention when videos circulated showing the steep rake of the upper sections and visible flex in the framework under load. Tournament organizers have stated the structures meet the same engineering standards applied at the Paris Olympics. The debate has not entirely gone away. Vancouver's BC Place is receiving a new video board and a mandatory natural grass installation. The city passed a temporary FIFA bylaw, active from May through July 2026, that fast-tracks permits for temporary structures, relaxes broadcast noise restrictions, and clears unauthorized commercial signage within 2 kilometers of the stadium. That last provision has generated its own quiet controversy among local businesses. Where the money actually went, the costs did not disappear. They moved. Instead of construction debt, the spending is redistributed across operations, transit, security, and training infrastructure. Categories that are less visible, but no less real. In March 2026, the U.S. Department of Transportation released $100.3 million in federal transit funding across the 11 American host cities. New York and New Jersey received $10.4 million, primarily for shuttle frequency upgrades to MetLife and crowd management at Secaucus Junction, the rail interchange that will handle the majority of fans traveling from Manhattan. Los Angeles received $9.6 million. The LA Metro is positioning itself as the official transit provider for all 8 SoFi Stadium matches, a direct continuation of the operational model developed for the 1984 Olympics, which is precisely why Los Angeles was selected to host the 2028 Summer Games. Security funding tells a more complicated story. The federal government set aside $625 million in security grants for host cities. Earlier in 2026, those funds were frozen during a partial Department of Homeland Security shutdown. Host cities called the situation catastrophic. Miami officials stated publicly that their fan festival would be canceled if the money did not arrive before the end of March. As of mid-March, some disbursements had begun moving. The process remained slow. The Foxborough situation became the most dramatic expression of this tension. Local officials in the town hosting Gillette Stadium threatened to withhold the World Cup operating license entirely over $7.8 million in outstanding security reimbursements. The standoff lasted months. It was only resolved when the Kraft Group, which owns Gillette Stadium, stepped in and agreed to front the full amount directly, bypassing the federal funding mechanism altogether. The town received its money. The matches will proceed. But Foxborough is one of 11 American cities still waiting on the broader federal security allocation. Beyond security, $228 million is being invested in the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center in Fayetteville, Georgia. 200 acres, dozens of pitches, facilities capable of housing 27 national teams simultaneously. In Houston, $55 million is being spent on NRG Park upgrades. Neither of these figures appears in stadium construction budgets. Both are real costs of hosting the tournament. The unresolved risk. Here is the part that no press release addresses. The no-build model works perfectly for the 90 minutes of football happening inside a stadium. The hard problem is everything surrounding it. Seattle is projecting 750,000 visitors across its matches, roughly equivalent to doubling the city's entire population across a compressed period. New Jersey will route tens of thousands of fans per match day through a rail interchange that was not designed for international tournament volumes. Los Angeles will attempt to move crowds of 70,000 people through a transit system that, despite significant investment, still serves a city built around the private car. These are not hypothetical concerns. They are operational questions with no guaranteed answers. If the light rail in Seattle fails under surge demand, if the shuttle systems in Dallas cannot clear MetLife's car parks within 2 hours of a final whistle, if multilingual wayfinding in New Jersey proves inadequate for a crowd drawn from 48 different footballing nations, the consequences are not construction debt. They are reputational, broadcast to a global audience of hundreds of millions in real time. The geopolitical backdrop adds further complexity. In March 2026, the White House publicly discouraged Iran's national team from attending, citing security concerns. Tournament organizers have had to navigate that statement carefully. The 2026 World Cup is not happening in a political vacuum. It is happening in a country with active and highly visible foreign policy tensions. And the stadiums are surrounded by federal security perimeters that will the verdict that hasn't been written yet. 32 years ago, the United States hosted a World Cup and built nothing. The tournament was considered a success. American soccer culture was supposed to ignite. It took another 3 decades and a second hosting rights award to finally build the infrastructure that might make the ignition permanent. If the transit holds, the security funds arrive, the temporary grandstands perform as engineered, and 5 to 7 million visitors move through 16 cities across 3 countries without a systemic failure, North America will have demonstrated something genuinely significant. Not just that, you can host a World Cup without building stadiums, but the entire model of mega event infrastructure is broken, and there is a better way to run it. If it doesn't hold together, if one city's transit collapses under the volume, if the frozen security grants leave a fan festival unpoliced, if the Foxborough model of private money bailing out federal dysfunction becomes the story of the tournament, then the no-build bet will be remembered differently, not as innovation, as underprepared optimism dressed up as strategy. The proof is not a press release. It is the tournament itself. What do you think? Is North America actually pulling this off? Or is the chaos of 48 teams and 104 matches about to expose everything the renders couldn't hide? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more deep dives into the infrastructure behind the world's biggest events.